All right, welcome back to another allcounselors.com webinar. I'm excited to talk about this today, this subject about how counselors, therapists, clinicians, mental health professionals can improve your website to do more for you and your practice. I'm going to give you 5 ways and include in a bonus tip. But first, tell you a little bit about who I am and why I'm qualified to talk about this. My name is Corey Miller. I'm the founder of allcounselors.com. I have a huge passion for mental health. I am not a clinician. So you're the clinician, but part of my mission in life is to help you connect with the people that are hurting. And to do that better, we talk about one of the things I spent most of my entrepreneurial career doing, which is digital marketing. I had a software business, started in 2008, grew it to a multi-million-dollar business, and it was acquired in 2018. And in 2019, I left my company that actually built software for web designers to start All Counselors. And I've got a couple other projects, but this is one of my big focuses in life. And I'm also married to a budding therapist. My wife, Lindsay, just graduated from the University of Oklahoma and really needs to get her exam date on the calendar very soon. But she's going to be working professionally in the industry. I'm here to help people like you and her get found, grow your practice, prosper, because I believe you're doing such good work in the world, and I want you to do well too. So as we get started, just a question: who all already has a website? And if you could post those in the chat right below the video here. I just want to know, do you have an existing site? If you want, put a link in there to your chat. And if we have time at the end, I'll go and look and give you insights and tips for how to make your website better. Okay, so first, I like to dial in as much practical things that you can do right now to make your website better, to get more clients, to have the life that you want to lead. Thanks, Brent. I'll go check that out in a second. So the first way you can use a website is it needs to be prime and center stage for all your marketing efforts. Too oftentimes I think, and I know this, you've went through so much schooling, so many supervision hours, having to do continuing education credits, as well as juggle a business. And oftentimes the website is the last thing on your mind, but you feel like it's a necessity, and obviously why you're here today. But the website, and I built an e-commerce, it was software business, but e-commerce business. We had an office, but we didn't have a phone number. I always bragged about that. We didn't actually have a number. Everyone had to use our website. We were dependent. If the website went down or if it wasn't right, we didn't make sales. And so I have lived this, but I'll tell you, for your practice, for those of you that are in private practice or have a group practice or wanting to start your practice, make your website, if you hear anything today, it's make your website the hub for everything you do. First and foremost, it needs to be a marketing tool for you, a marketing asset for you to help you get new clients in the door, to serve them, to help them with their lives, and to make money, to sustain your life and all of that. So everything you do needs to point back to it. Too often I talk to counselors and clinicians who think, well, I've got a website. It's called my Psychology Today listing. That's great, but that's an outpost. That's not something you own. Just like a Facebook page. That's great to have, but it should point back to the center of your universe for your practice in terms of marketing, which is your website, meaning a domain name you own that has some information about you and your work in the world. Everything needs to come back to the website. Too often we get that skewed. And I know it's tempting to think about social and, oh, so-and-so has this great clinician, has hundreds of thousands of people on Instagram. But at the end of the day, Instagram can change their algorithms, Facebook, whatever else. Psychology Today could switch whatever they're wanting to do. And you want something that you own versus renting. You're renting over there. And it's a no cost for some of the social profiles. But your website is something you can control. And I want you to have max flexibility with that too. But all those things should help you pull people into your stratosphere, but they should point back to your website where you control it. You can do all the things I'm going to talk to you about today. Okay. So thanks, Aaron. I'll get back. I'll get back to your question in just a minute. Okay, so first is this, it's just the philosophy is website is your hub, okay, for building your practice. And most all of the things we're talking about today are cheap or easy, free ways you can get new clients into your practice. But the second that I talked to, and I've reviewed a bunch, dozens of therapists and clinical websites. And the first is, and I know this could feel weird to you as a therapist, but your ideal client to think through. And if you've been in practice for a number of years, think through, look back and go, who do I typically has drawn to my practice, or who do I love like serving every single day? And then think through the modalities. Now we know them as modalities. Our clients don't necessarily think of them as modalities, but they're ways to work with their clients. And think about those things that you use on a regular basis too, for a second, and the types of treatment options and modalities you use that you tend to kind of come to more often, like cognitive behavioral therapy, for instance, all the EMDR, whatever those things are. Just look at your practice, kind of glance back in your mind anecdotally and go, okay, I typically serve senior adults. I've talked to a clinician. He actually works with senior adults who are homebound. So that's great. That's an ideal type client of someone we can get a frame of mind of who typically is attracted to our practice, and we're attracted to them to serve them and support them. The modalities are key for just a minute, because I want you to think about that. You might have a modality you tend to use all the time, CBT, whatever it is out there. And what I want you to think about is the common themes, because we're going to translate that to our website, because the people that are most attracted to your practice are the ones you want to, when they see your site, to go, this person, this clinician is speaking to me. This person can help me. Okay. That's why we start with the ideal client. So that's number 2, getting you thinking about the ideal client. If you have some thoughts already, put those into the chat so we can come back to those, because I want to use some of the live examples that you might have. So right now, Brent, Carrie, Aaron, as you think, you've already posted in the chat, what sticks out to you? And you might say, hey, Corey, I want to serve all people. Cool. That's good. I'm so happy for that. But there probably is a type of person, demographics, whatever it is, that typically is drawn to. What if you say anxiety? I love to help people with anxiety. Clients come in and I can really work through that with them, and they see great results afterwards. Think of those things, put that down there. Thank you, Melanie. Okay. So Melanie, trauma, EMDR, chronic pain, somatic work. Okay. So that's around trauma, deep hurt. I'm curious, Melanie, do you work with a lot of those who are suffering from substance abuse or other addictions? Oh, okay. So with these modalities, you said no. Who does somebody stick out to you, like a type of person that is attracted to your practice? And Carrie, thanks for this. Okay, so Carrie's got 3 ones: college students, couples, infidelity. Okay, let's start with couples and infidelity for a second. So I'm going to guess you might be LMFT or have some focus with maybe couples. I don't know. I'm presupposing on you there. Couples and infidelity. Let's say you go, okay, I do talk to a lot, and that's what I help. Now, you want to be careful how you message that, but just knowing those things, you said it's college students too. I'm going to guess couples are able to pay a little bit more. I don't know where the college students factor in if you're working, if you happen to be by a university or something. But if we stick with couples for a second, that's great. Now we can talk about, these are, I work with all ranges, diverse people, but I really help couples. And college, those could be buckets on your website that you talk about those particular groups on your website. So this is great stuff. You're talking, you're giving me good information. I appreciate that, because I want to help you message better, reach those prospective clients for your business. But anyway, back to you, Melanie, for a second. We're going to talk in a second about modalities and how to translate like EMDR and somatic work, what those things mean, so that when somebody is suffering from something that these modalities help, you can give them the easy translation, or the easier translation for what that really does. Okay, so that's great. Let's keep this in mind, our ideal client and some of the modalities we typically use or tend to use more than others. Okay. The next is the third is the key. These are the key areas of your site. Every therapist website needs to have these key pages, but it can be in a just a one-page website. But here are the key stages that you need to have. And we're going to shift perspective in a second. We're going to think like a client, not like a clinician. But I want to set the stage with these key pages on your site. A homepage that when they hit the page, you're going to get enmeshed if you're building your own site in your own, head, like I do sometimes. But you need to think about, what if my mom, we don't treat her family and everything, but what if my mom came to a website? What would she want to know? Or my son, or somebody, a friend, and they go to the site, they'd want to know, think about what they want to know. Who is the person that can help me, right? Where? I know in the United States in particular, you have state licensing, and sometimes you have reciprocity between states. But typically, when I say where you work, it's probably in a city, right, that you draw the most of your clients. So, for instance, in Oklahoma City, I might say, if you're based in Oklahoma City, I go, well, there's suburbs. There's Mustang, Yukon, Edmond, Norman, even Shawnee out here. Okay, which one do you typically serve even more? That's going to be key. Not necessarily for a prospective client, but those searching, I'll talk about Google in a second, that type in therapist into Google. We want them to find you if they're living in those areas easily. And then how you help. That's where the modalities come into. It's not just saying CBT, EMDR. It's saying I help people through, and that's where you answer the layman's term. So your about page is where, so we talked about homepage. Now it's about page. About page is where you talk about you, your passion, your calling for what you do in the world, your education. If you have books or other achievements, the about page is where you say, I'm an authority in this field. And this is also a way to show that you're human. So a picture on your site, throughout your site. I remember reviewing a clinician site, and I said, I had to really dig to find a photo of you. Now, I get there may be reasons that you do not want to put your photo front and center, but to me, when I'm talking to a counselor, I want to see who the person is. And I want to know there's a human beyond the text. Okay. So that's primarily your about page, but I would say you want to have your picture of you, your office. If you're in a group practice, prominent on your site, so they know there's humans on the other side of this. Services is where you talk about the modalities and treatment options that you offer. FAQs, we're going to talk about this in a second. This is where you put all those common questions you get asked over and over and over. Do I take insurance? Do I work with, whatever specialty, particular mental health issue? Contact and directions. We want to make it easy for people to contact you and find you. I realize we're talking in the era in a pandemic and COVID right now, but I'll tell you why having an office is really important right now in just a second. And it has more to do with marketing than should I have an office or not. Ongoing. I've talked to clinicians who are considering giving up their lease. That's your decision to make. Before you do it, I want to tell you one thing about that. Contact is just simply could have things like your hours of operation, when you take clients, if you are seeing clients in person, where you park, how you get in the building, all the things you could think of, but typically directions too. Directions, I'm going to come back again. This is a marketing thing that talks to Google, that we're going to come back and talk about this and why that is important, not just to make it easy for the client, but also to talk to Google. And then a basic website is client resources. Invariably, you're going to have intake forms, things that exercises, things that you might say, it's on my website. I'll send you a link after the session to this. That's another area where you can put those type of client resources. So that is the basic key areas of the site. And that's number 3. The next is extremely important. I know you have been through hours and years of training, and then you have ongoing training to make sure your craft is always you're on the cutting edge of science and good practice. You're talking about ethics and things like that. But too often you have all these advanced degrees, but we end up talking in jargon. This is not just clinicians. This is every industry on the face of the earth. We tend to talk about jargon. Even me with digital marketing things, sometimes I go SEO, and depending on who I'm talking to, they might not know what it is. So I've just used an industry jargon. I see this most with the modalities that those backwards and forwards. You've been trained in them, certified in them, have ongoing training with those, but your clients don't. And every time you think to put a particular modality or treatment option, I want you to go, what does this really do? Why do I use this? And give a little bit of a definition. You might have clients that have been in therapy for years and know what EMDR is. And I'm just using these because they're on my brain right now, but CBT or whatever it is, and DBT. And they may understand that, but most people, particularly new clients, don't assume they understand that. They haven't been through years of training like you have, do it every single day like you do. And so cut out the jargon. Now, if you say cognitive behavioral therapy, parentheses, CBT, put an explainer text somewhere in there that says, I tend to use this in therapy sessions often because, and put your reason. And like you would explain it to your mom or dad or your kids or whoever else. Give me, cut out the jargon and give me the simple explainer for how this would benefit, why I would want to come to someone that practices and uses EMDR or somatic therapy. We too often, and this is not just clinicians, just assume that everybody knows that. That's one way to cut down the barrier. Because if you think about it, one of the reasons why I'm doing this work is I want to help end and obliterate the stigma of mental health forever. I want to be a part of that contribution in the world. So clients have fears. They're already wrestling with things that we're struggling with. And by the way, I see a counselor about every 2 weeks and have for 6 years. So I love the work you do in the world, but make sure you kind of make that simple. And I want to lower, when we talk about all these fears and the stigma or whatever might be hampering them from sending an email to you or making a phone call to you and booking that first session or the next session, we want to, with our website, lower that bar and the friction as low as possible to make it easy to say, this person can help me and get connected to you and the healing that you can offer. So make it easy for someone to become a client. That's like if you are in a 3-story building and you're on the 3rd floor in Suite A, and sometimes people take a left and not a right, that you have that information on your website, that you're giving it to new prospective clients, and it can be pointed back to your website. So that's your hub, your marketing and your information hub to help people lower the barrier to working with you. Okay, so here's a key one. Think like a client, not a clinician. For marketing purposes on your website is, what are the most common questions you get? One is, do you take insurance? 2 is, how much? Those typical things. Do you help me? Whoever me is. How do you work? Whatever those common questions that you get that in your head, you've got 3 that just popped in your head, I bet you. Write those down in your notepad like I've got, or your digital notepad. Write those down. Those need to be prominent on your website because we're trying to lower the bar for someone to become a client. How do they book so think like a client, just like you, when you're going to a new store, restaurant, or you're on vacation, the questions you might ask that your clients, your prospective clients, have the same questions. Lower the bar, but making it so easy. What fears would they have? I picked up lunch for my wife and I today. Well, with the curbside thing, I'll just give it a slight example. I sometimes never know where to park. I never know, do I need to go in? Do I have, even though they might say it's curbside, I always have those questions. How do I let them know? Are they looking for me? All those things, if I'm that person, if I'm that restaurant, in your case, the clinician, I would want those prominent on my website. Take away and lower all those bars so they have an amazing experience. One, becoming a client of yours. And then second, this is your job, doing the work. So how do they book a consultation? how do you work? How does therapy work? Whatever you want to say. And if you feel, like you got to use those terms, talk therapy or whatever, just say the term and say, which means this. So, okay, that is number 4. Now, okay, this is the biggie. So we've talked about just using websites for marketing, lowering the bar, talking about your ideal client where they see your site and they go, this person can help me. This person is serving who I am with the issues and struggles that I have. I want to hit the easy button, hit the contact form, hit the email, hit the phone number, and contact them for this. But this one, now we get into geek land, which is my land. Okay. Optimize for Google. So if you've ever on your phone, like me, 3 times a week, probably, I go, I need a plumber. I type in plumber into Google. Okay. Google is a source of free traffic right now of the best or the hottest or the most ready buyers of any product and service. If you're typing something into Google, red dress, I was trying to look for a video screen earlier today, and a video screen that, changed pictures that you put on your desk and stuff. I'm ready to buy. If you think about that, think about all those things. You type in plumber into Google, your water heater broke, or you have a mess coming in the kitchen, or whatever. The same said, if someone types in, and there's probably likely in your area, I think Aaron said he was in Boulder, typing in therapist, typing in whatever on the other side, they're looking that, back to your ideal client, they're looking for you. Those are the buyers we want prospective clients, we want to capture to your website. And how we do that is called the biggest thing for clinicians, solo practitioners in particular, and also group practices, is a concept called local SEO. SEO stands for search engine optimization. We want your website to be talking to Google and sharing key data. When someone is looking for therapists, Google knows I'm sitting in Oklahoma City. Okay. We want that linked up to your website. And another thing I'm going to talk to you about in just a second called Google My Business. Now I'll talk to you about, if you have an office now, Google My Business, you need to have a Google My Business profile. At all counselors, we can do both Google My Business for you and your website, by the way. But I want to tell you the benefits. It's when you type in plumber or therapist, if you do it right now, go do it right now on your phone or in your browser, type in therapist and see what pulls up. In the map pack, that the display somewhere along there, depending on where you're at, there'll be a map pack, and I'll have these 3 clinicians, like I've done that earlier today. I think there's 3 clinicians within a reasonable radius of me. We want you to be found there, because likely the closest people to you in proximity are the people that historically, before COVID for sure, were the ones that were most ready to become a client, because they're looking for you, therapists. We want you to be found there. There's 2 parts to this. One is getting found in the map is called Google My Business. We have a service that does all that for you, but you can create a free account. If you actually Google, this is going to be funny, Google My Business, you'll come on the page. You can sign up for a free trial, or not a free trial. It's a free account to do all this. All you have to do is verify your address. Typically, you'll type in your address, 121 Northwest, whatever. Okay. Then Google will send you a postcard by mail to verify your address. And that's it to get the account. Now you want that profile to be optimized. And this is where local search engine optimization, it just basically means people in your local area are searching for the services. So people like heating and air, plumbers, electricians, dog walkers, therapists, counselors, all that. Anybody that you go to is serving a local geographic region, which is typically most counselors and clinicians. I want you to be found in Google My Business, and I want your site to reflect the same. This is where, when we talk back about ideal client, when I said what areas are you serving? I want to say, for instance, if I am actually in Oklahoma City, I might say I'm in North Oklahoma City. I might say I pull from Edmond, which is the north suburb. If I'm in Edmond, I want to start with Edmond, Oklahoma, and then start to look at local communities. Now, I talked to a therapist in Brooklyn. I said, I don't know your region, but there's likely neighborhoods and geographic ways that people search for those particular things. Primarily, you want city, but you also want to take into account the nuances. Do people in Oklahoma City call it Northwest Oklahoma City, or are you more in one of the suburbs? And we want that listed both on your Google My Profile, Google My Business, and your website, because they are like Batman and Robin. They work together, 1-2 punch. Okay, now next, and please ask some questions. I know, Brent, you've got one, and I'm going to come back to it. Okay, Tricia, I'll come back to Google My Business. You bet. I'll give you a link in just 1 second, and I'll actually show it to you. This is my kind of bonus point, but your website needs to look great on mobile. So you build your website or you have somebody do it. And that's what we do at All Counselors. We want to take off the tech from you, so you do therapy. We want to get you that flow of new customers seeing your website, seeing you on Google My Business, so you book new appointments with people that are hurting out there. But this point is, make sure your website also looks good on mobile. There are a number of people that will just have a mobile phone, and maybe even just an Android, right, phone. And you want your website, it's called responsive web design, to look good on all devices that they could be searching you for. And I put here, click the phone number. So when you go to a site and you've ever seen the phone, you just click it and it just pops up. Do you want to call it? That's what you want. You want them to have, see, again, we were lowering the bar, lessening the friction to push call, leave a message if you're in a session, and then you get back to them and book a session with them. Make sure it's good on mobile, your website. Okay, so now we've got another 30 minutes. We can answer your questions and all that, but I want you to know, allcounselors.com, we're here for you. We're getting ready to roll out our beta website packages. If you want us to help you with your websites, I've given you enough where you can do it yourself. But you say, Corey, I want to do therapy, let you do the marketing. We'd love to help you at allcounselors.com. If you go to the contact form at allcounselors.com, you can book a free discovery session. We can talk about strategy and help you kind of put these pieces together. We can go through the ideal clients exercise. We can start to help you. What we do on our website packages that we're going to roll out in the next 2 weeks is do it for you. There's no go in, build it together, and have to worry about all the build it yourself, have to worry about tech and marketing. We're going to take all that off you. And so hit us up, and we'll be sharing that in our newsletter very soon too, when we roll that out. But if you'd like to be one of the first to be a part of that program, we'd love to have you at allcounselors.com. Okay. So I'm going to stop the recording so we can start getting to your questions. But let me just review real quick. Your website is your hub. It should be the center of the universe, the sun, and everything you do, social, Psychology Today, whatever listings you have out there should point back to your website. Your emails, your business cards, everything. Think about this. Another reason to have your website as your hub is, how do people, other colleagues, refer to you? They probably give you the website or a phone number, but we want them to go to the website that has everything. How we work, all the questions, lower the bar, get someone just to call and book that. I'm ready to book that appointment. You connect with what I'm suffering from and struggling with, and I need you to help me. So website is your hub. Think about the themes of your ideal client. Just look back in your practice and anecdotally go, okay, this particular demographic is more attracted to my practice. This is who I also like to work with. These are the types of things I like to work with them to help them heal. And that client exercise is so key, because it needs to be infused on your website and everything you do, how you talk about your practice. I gave you the key areas of your website: an about page, a services page, a FAQs page, a contact page, a client resource page. Those are basic stuff for a clinician website. Think like a client, not a clinician. Meaning, let's just cut out the jargon. Try to answer all the questions you can for your prospective client, so it lowers that bar. Optimize for Google. So you can Google My Business right here. Someone asked, Tricia, Google My Business. That's how you get found in the map app. You can set up an account where we can do it for you. And your website needs to reflect those things, which is who you are, where are you where you serve, the region we talked about, and that you're a licensed, certified, trained, whatever, licensed therapist or whatever people are looking for in Google for you. And I gave you a bonus one is make sure your website looks good on mobile on all devices. All right, that's my presentation, and I'm going to get to questions right now.